Good morning, everyone. Hey, Jason, Batgirl, Connie, Pristine, Salem, Copa. How's everybody doing today? AT, I hope you have a great day. I'm glad you're feeling better. Hey, Tammy Lou. This one, so I know I'm with you. Okay, so you're familiar. Hey, British Chippy. Has anybody else heard about this one yet? Is there anybody else that's left in the dark about this case? Because for some reason it hasn't really gone as big as I suspected it to, but it is very interesting, and I'm also conflicted. I'm wondering if we have a Chris Watts situation on our hands or if this is the tragedy that has been displayed before us. Hey, Urban. So I'll give a few minutes for everybody to come in. Angie Brooks, hey, girl. And yeah, and then we'll get right into it. This one will come with a trigger warning. It does involve children. Unfortunately, it's a very, very sad situation. But there are some flags, and most of us here are familiar with the Chris Watts case, right? I mean, we have some of us floated to shore using floaties to get off that dang island. So we are very familiar with Chris Watts' case, and we all know at one point he stood on the porch like a grieving father. Diamond painting, B-fam. You know what? I purchased years ago a Pennywise diamond painting kit to do for my son, who is a fanatic of Pennywise. And girl, when I seen all those little tiny diamonds, I just did not have the patience in me. Major credit to all of you that are able to get into that, because it is overwhelming to say the least. Hey, Aors, good to see you. Sweet Sativia, good to see you. Sandy. All right. Lost you for a second at X and come back. Jason. We are having big storms coming through. The wind's starting to pick up now. So if there is any problems with the internet, I'll be back later. Maintenance on quads. Look at you go, Helen. Okay. All right. Over in Philadelphia, they just actually impounded hundreds of quads and dirt bikes due to the competitive racing that is going on that is endangering the neighborhood. So, yeah, that was interesting to see how many of them they collected. Hey, Gary. It doesn't seem like there are a lot of people who think he did the deed. Are you speaking about this father, Derek, or are you speaking about Chris Watts? That I'm very curious about. There are people out here that still believe Chris Watts is innocent. Absolutely. Yes, Jad, if you are listening, yep. Come on, Nelly. Hey, Lori, good morning. Hey, Julie, Derek. Oh, okay. I love filling in the summer on a dirt bike. It's fun to get chased. Okay. Okay. All right. So I think what we'll do, we'll revisit a little bit of the Watts, which again, a lot of us came to YouTube for that. I think Nicole helped as well. And you know what? I would love to go over this because I would love to retouch on that. And where is Nicole? How did this one woman just hide? Right? Like she just disappeared from the world. Nobody has seen her, no sightings, no spottings, no nothing. How does that happen? Hey, Texas. Miss Liverbird. Hey, Jor. Why does Nicole need to show herself? She doesn't need to show herself, Gary. It's just beyond weird that one person is able to, in such a high profile case, is able to hide from any sightings. It's just a rarity. So she doesn't have to show herself. She owes nobody anything. She was the mistress. So, of course, a lot of people are angry about her, but doesn't necessarily mean she did anything. I'm not sure about the Watts came to you too with, oh, okay, with Kylie Rodney. Yes, he was. Her dad had a lot of connections. A lot of people think that plays a big part. Hey, Amy. Yeah, that's a case I could go over again and again and again and again. And I've always had opposing views when it comes to it, which we all know you could not have. While that case was hot and heavy, it was split down this, it was two sides and only two sides, and there was no in between thinking. You weren't allowed to have in between thinking. It was truly a case that lit the internet on fire, in my opinion, which is why a lot of people call it Watts Island, right? Because, it was his own little. You never followed the Watts case, Tammy? Wow. Wouldn't mind seeing someone go over it all from day one, especially Nicole part role. Seems she was able to lay low through it all. Yeah, I'm shocked you've never followed it. Trump said, be well as well, my friend. Absolutely. Hey, 71. You're a little late. We didn't really get started. Just doing my hellos and everything before we get into the juiciness of it all. We should, Jor. I would absolutely love that. So anyway, let me give you guys a breakdown on what this case meant. Mainly, pollen is so bad. Give me 1 second. I'm going to see if Jace needs allergy medicine. It's so funny because an alert literally came up on a computer saying like the pollen is high. And then here he goes with the sneezing. Okay, so let me give you a little breakdown of what this is. So a husband who discovered estranged wife had drowned their 2 kids in a, I hate that YouTube, I'm not monetized right now, so I'll say a murder-suicide, okay? So I know a lot of people get angry that YouTubers don't use certain words, and they think it downplays the situation. But in order to be able to get ad revenue, you're not allowed to say certain words. In this case, I don't have ad revenue turned on, so we're going to go ahead and use the language that YouTube would demonetize you for. First police interview was incredible drama. The most interesting thing about the Watts case was the first police interview. I think the entire case was interesting because Chris Watts seemed like a great father. He just seemed like the all around perfect dad. They were the picket white fence family. And hey, Johnny, it's good to see you. All right, so here we have it, right? So this one's a very interesting one. So Nancy Johnson drowned her son, Jacob Johnson, 2, and daughter, Mia Johnson, 5, in the bathroom before dying by suicide. She allegedly strangled herself, okay? Strangled herself. An Alabama man is expressing his shock and grief after his 2 children were killed by his estranged wife in what authorities say was a murder-suicide. So what's interesting about this is the father, Derek, he's the one reaching out. He's the one reaching out to all of the news agencies. He wants to be seen. He wants to be heard. He wants to speak on it. And that is a rare, I'm talking less than a few days after this. He discovered this. He walked in and discovered this horrific scene. And I'm going to let you all hear in his own words how he played it out. Actually, let me put these headphones on. Okay. So, Nancy Johnson drowned her son, Jacob Johnson, 2, a 2-year-old baby, and daughter, Mia Johnson, 5, in the bathroom and slashed her daughter's throat before she hanged herself. Now, that's not what the husband says. The husband says that she strangled. It never said hanged. This one's saying hanged herself. Would it be hanged or would it be hung? I think it would be hung, but I don't know. Okay, so she allegedly hanged herself. Now, that, again, is not what the husband says, and we'll get to that. The children's autopsies revealed that both died from drowning, but Mia's blood loss due to her knife wounds contributed to her official cause of death. Derek Johnson, the father of the children, the estranged husband of Nancy, shared in a note on a GoFundMe launched by his sister that he is devastated and is horrified at the thought of returning to the bathroom where his children were murdered. He states, "Now I am at ground zero and left with around $25,000 in debt, a bathroom that I can't possibly stare at where my children were drowned. I want to tear it all out," he wrote on the page, which was created on Sunday, 3 days after he discovered the bodies of his wife and their children. Now, here's the thing. He wasn't living with them. He was in a whole nother state. They weren't living together, okay? This one is, I personally get the creeps from this. Hung, hanged, it all means same. Anyone who clips this, F them. Wait, the article wrote hanged. I think it would be hung. I'm just, they can clip it. The hell. There's no way she did that to the children. So here's where it gets crazy, guys. And I'm going to let you see it for yourselves. Give me 1 second. We will go ahead and play this. Again, this is a trigger warning if you are sensitive. I think by now, though, we are kind of in a true crime place and people understand that a lot of these cases, unfortunately, do involve the children. So here is the father, Derek. Derek reached out to Law and Crime and asked to be interviewed. So here's where it gets shady, Irvin, right? So the father, so it just so happens they were going through a divorce, and you're going to listen to this guy. They were going through a divorce, and he was told that he is to come to the house, and they are supposed to interchange living in the house with the children and living in the RV while they figure out a custody arrangement. He claims that he showed up there, and he gives particular time and everything. Oh, I showed up at 4:30 and there was no movement, no lights, but the car was in the driveway. But he still thought maybe the wife went out with the kids with a friend, right? Similar to the Wasp case. So he turns around the next morning. He sees no movement, hears nothing. He goes in the door, and I'm going to let you guys all hear it from his words, because I'm telling you, once you listen to this man, and I'm going to show you the cues I picked up on, you tell me what you think. 33, he looks much older. Worried about debt, right? Right, Angie. I'm telling you, there's so many red flags with this man. Derek Johnson, Alabama. All right, let's go ahead and play it. And when you see me push the play button over here, put a 1 in the chat if you can hear the sound.
First time we're hearing from the Alabama man who found his wife dead and 2 young children brutally murdered in their family home. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Sierra Gillespie. We're taking a closer look at this heartbreaking story where 3 lives were tragically cut short. In Semmes, Alabama, just outside of Mobile, investigators say Derek Johnson entered.
I'm going to pause a minute. We're going to pause a minute. Hey, Evelyn. Hey, Penny. We're going to pause a minute. We're going to look at these babies. Okay. I'm going to show you all what I saw. I see beautiful, well-kept children, right? Look at them with their jammies. She has her hair done, even the matching little ponytails. They got the adorable toys they're playing with. The mother over here has the baby cage, keep the babies in the one room. She has the couch cover. Look at these balloons going. I mean, these children look like they are clean, they are kempt, and they are well loved. Just on first thought, right? Just looking at this photo, you see 2 happy, healthy children, cared for, kept,
the home on September 28th to find his wife, 37-year-old Nancy Johnson, dead. He also discovered his children, 5-year-old Mia and 2-year-old Jacob, murdered. Also discovered his children, 5-year-old
Mia. Oh, this is the one, and again, trigger warnings. This is the baby girl. This is the 5-year-old Mia. They're claiming the mother, this mother right here, slit her throat. Look at this. Look at all the love in this picture. Look at the baby girl. Her hair's done. She has the blanket on her. They're traveling. Baby's giving the mom a drink. They're looking, I mean, look at this. Does this look like a, and then you can say, but well, what does that really mean, right? I guess, what does that really mean? So what? She loved them. They were cared for. What does that mean? Well, when you hear the rest of it, when you hear the shady way this father speaks, oh, they can be deceiving. We see it in many cases. White picket fence, perfect all-American family, and there's, turmoil inside. Absolutely, looks can be deceiving. But this type of love, there's did anybody else have, this is a quick little off topic. Did anybody else have the woman, let me take my headphones off. Anybody else have the woman come up on their timeline? The woman whose husband recently died, mother of 8? Put a 1 in the chat if that woman has come across your timeline, because YouTube has been pushing on the algorithm. I see a lot of you that I know over in the comment section. Drop a 1 if mother of 8 whose husband recently passed away has come across your timeline. Hey, KNS. Hey, Fragile Like a Bomb. The police had been called many times. Yes, yeah. Thank you, Fragile Like a Bomb. Keep this in mind. The police had been called many times for DV to the house. Okay, so 1s are coming up. When you look at that mother, and I hate to say this, but this is the comparison I can have right now. When you look at those children, mother of 8, and you see their hair straggly, they look filthy, they're unkempt, the house is filthy. Granted, this is a woman, and I have a lot of sympathy for her. She was married at 19 to a man that was 20 years older than her. They were together for 20 years. They have 8 kids. That means she spent about 16 years being pregnant. The 8 kids is a lot of kids. The house is unkempt, but they're unkempt. And I'm not always saying that unkempt means you don't love your kids. Absolutely, that is not what I am saying by any means. So I don't even know why I'm saying it, to be honest. But I'm just saying you can tell when somebody takes pride in themselves and their children. And I am pointing out how loved these kids looked, because as we go on, it's going to play a big part of it. As for mother of 8, I can't believe YouTube finally pushed her in the algorithm, because they are kind of doing her dirty there. There we go. Tammy is getting it. Tammy and Fragile Like a Bomb, you were getting there. You're with me. All right. I mean, we all know looks can be so deceiving, but still, she had a protective order against him. Many think the PD ruled it murder-suicide to save their own butts for not protecting her from him. They aren't investigating. They said it's closed. Oh, they're not investigating. Oh, Lord. All right, let me just carry on. I went on a whole nother tangent about mother of 8, but I just can't believe this poor woman took losing her husband to hit the algorithm, in which a lot of people are saying and seeing that there's a lot going on within that home. Some are saying that woman was, we'll do a whole nother live on that one. Let me just carry on. Hey, Rhodey. Is a sign she was stable and cares. Yes. In order to take care of your children like this, your mental health is not suffering. I know a lot of us have suffered from mental health, from depression, right? Hey, tattoos. We're lucky if we can brush our own hair. We're not brushing the kids' hair. We're not putting matching ponytails in. We're not making sure our kids' faces are clean and their clothes are clean and everything in between when you're in a deep depression, which is what this man tried to put on his wife. So let me proceed, and you hear it from him.
Nancy Johnson dead. He also discovered his children, 5-year-old Mia and 2-year-old Jacob, murdered. At first, officials did not release how Nancy or the children were killed, only saying they weren't shot. The local sheriff told TV stations, quote,
I keep pausing for fair usage, but I also keep pausing. Hey, Megan. Hey, Wah. Megan and Wah. I also keep pausing because this is a heavy case. Look at these babies. Look how well Mia played with her little brother, Jacob. Look at the happiness. Look at the toys. Look at the love. Think of these babies going out in such a tragic way. I just, man.
It was more horrific than that. But a few days later, investigators said Nancy allegedly drowned both her children and slashed her daughter's throat before strangling herself. We're joined now by Derek Johnson, the husband and father who found the disturbing crime scene. And Derek, thank you so much for joining us today. And we're sorry it's under such tragic circumstances.
There he is, friends. There he is. There is the father, Derek. There is Derek. And let me remind you all, Derek asked to be interviewed. Strangled herself, right? And now the article I read earlier says she hanged herself. That's what they wrote, hanged herself. Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. Derek here, I think this interview was 3 days after, but don't, hold me to that, because we'll hear within this. Asked Law and Crime to be interviewed. His excuse, why he wanted to be interviewed? To talk about mental health. Again, I take you back to the photos and the footage we saw. Does it look like that woman was suffering from mental health?
Thank you for having me.
So let's start really with the basics. How are you holding up right now?
That's a tough question, but I'm doing better than I was the day it happened. I will say that.
And I want viewers to know it was actually you who reached out to Law and Crime Network for this interview.
Better than the day he got a smirk. This dude has duper's delight. I'm telling you, Penny, we are looking at a Chris Watts situation all over again. Oh, Every time you hear something of that reminds you of a narcissist, drop a 1 in the chat, because I am telling you the flags were jumping out the screen. Jumping out the screen.
So why do you want to tell your side of the story now?
I think there's a lot more to be said that what led up to this. Obviously, it's value. Everyone got the raw facts of what happened.
Your side of the story, they say. Your side of the story. Why did you want to tell your side of the story? Mental health does that. I disagree, Marie. I disagree. Depression absolutely has signs and signatures and a look to it. A woman that is suffering from depression, of which this man Derek states, is not going to have her house and her children and herself looking so clean. I will argue that one. I totally will stand by that. So anyway, of course, look at the cute little hand and footprints back here, Dada, right? Look at this beautiful Maya. Look at her. She's gorgeous. But his side of the story. His side of the story. Why did you want to tell your side of the story? You mean the tragedy? The traumatizing scene he walked into? Oh, Lord. All right, let's continue. I know. Listen, I'm going to try to control my anger as well.
Happened. And I think there's a lot more to be learned. Facts of obviously it's value. Everyone got the raw facts of what happened. And I think there's a lot more to be learned on the mental health side. And I'm still grappling with it because I never could ever do like this. And even her family's still not believing that she would truly have done something like this. We're just
more to be learned on the mental. This is Alabama. More to be learned on the mental health side. Irvin, I would love to know as well. Hey, Blissful. 100%. She was depressed. She definitely would be taking care of the kids in the home, and that they are very well cared for. Beautiful, beautiful babies. Listen, toddlers get messy. You don't see not one little nothing on these children. So sad. I couldn't have children. I raised my girls from 11 to 13. People that M or A, their children should be locked up for life and sterilized. I think that we should treat them the way treat them the way they treat the children. Take them out the way they took out the kids. Any crime that involves a child, I believe that the perp should have the same thing done to them. You hear about these people that lock their kids in cages and they starve them. Do the same to them. Why are we financially paying for creeps to sit in a jail cell where they have warmth, shelter, food, clothing, water? No. Take them out the way they took the life of the innocent. And I think if we did, we'd have a lot less crimes against children. Just my opinion. So here we go, right? More about mental health. I believe there's more to be said about mental health. Yeah, tell us about her mental health, because for me, this is a 1 in the chat for a narcissistic flag. Tell us how mentally unstable your wife was. Let's hear it, Derek.
grappling with it because I never could ever do like this. And even her family's still not believing that she would truly have done something like this. I'm trying to back up and take a look at what went wrong, but it's really hard to see what happened.
Now, tell me that's not a red flag. Hey, sweet Caroline, tell me that's not a red flag. Right. Tell us about your mental health, Derek. Amen. Her family still doesn't believe that she could have done something like this. You know what, Derek? Many of us still don't believe. But why would he mention that? Barely showing emotion. You know what else? He can't look up. He is not making any eye contact, nothing. He has already separated himself by using her family. Absolutely, sweet Caroline. Her family. Because her family knows there's something wrong here. Oh, it just, whew. It keeps looking down, Pristine. He sure does. He doesn't look like he's grieving at all. Red flags everywhere. We are going to be dropping a lot of ones in the chat. Again, if you're just coming in, every time we hear a red flag or a narcissistic response, drop a 1 in the chat. I want to see how many pick up on the same things I did. Very off. Very off. And again, Some could say, well, he's grieving. He's grieving. What do you want from the man? He's grieving. He walked in on a trial. He asked for this interview. Okay? If he was in such a deep grief that he was going to come off so damn shady, he shouldn't have asked to go on national news with his story.
Yeah. And I mean, I know this is difficult, but can you take me back to last week, walking into that home? What do you remember?
So, I'll back up just a hair before that. I arrived Wednesday at 4:30 to the house with the RV and was driving from Washington State as ordered by the judge. And
don't ask me what I want. Let me back it up a hair. He's sus, Kara. He's sus. Let me back it up a hair. I arrived at 4:30 in the RV. Well, why do we need to know that? Why such a small detail? Hey, over explaining. That is right. Hey, East Coast, over explaining. Hey, Ella. Oh, I know. I couldn't even imagine. Details down to a T. All right. So he gets there at 4:30 as ordered by a judge. As ordered by a judge.
that day, the van was in the driveway. All the lights were off. I assumed she had gone somewhere with a friend or something, and she would be dropped off later. I just maintained the house and acted as everything was normal. But when I got up the next,
I think I'm a little ahead of you guys, but let me rewind that back because I just put another one in the chat. Fan was in the driveway, lights were off. But what did he say there? He just what? Whoa, I went too far back. Did he just say he just maintained the house? Let's hear that again.
on his back to wake him up and them, and I don't know how am I in, but on the L shape, noticed my French doors and it was sounds. There was no. The next day on Thursday, thing was normal, but when I got up in the house or something, and she would be dropped off later, I just maintained the house and acted as everything was normal. But
he sure did. He said he maintained the house. He maintained the house. So you were in the house? You weren't in the driveway in the RV? You maintained the house? What does that even mean? You guys hear that, right? Hey, Angela. You heard that. He sure did. Maintain the house. I think the story is made up as well. He is not making any eye contact. Maintain the house and acted as everything was normal. What does that mean, Derek? You should have been in a driveway in the RV. And especially because he mentions her fan was there. No movement. Oh, okay. Lord, I'm going to be pausing every few minutes. Let me stop pausing. Oh, Johnny, I'm sorry to read this. I lost my older son in a car accident. And at the time, your world stopped. Nothing matters because you feel nothing and the pain is physical. I could never understand how people can speak to reporters. I am so sorry to hear that. I am so sorry. Wow, I couldn't even imagine. If I were to be able to imagine, it would be what you described. I wouldn't be able to speak to anybody, let alone ask to be on national news to give my side. And mind you, they closed this case out. They're taking it at face value. Bullshit.
when I got up the next day on Thursday, I noticed there was no sounds, there was no movement. All the blinds closed. It was very dark. There was only one light on in the master bedroom, and I had a feeling that I needed to get into the house. And so I ended up drilling out the door lock, French doors in the back. And
you guys hear it? Excuse me, Derek. If this is your home where you need a GoFundMe to tear it down and rebuild, why did you not have a key to this house? Is it because your wife was afraid of you? Is it because your wife had restraining orders on you? But dang it, it is good you had a drill to drill out that lock. And not only that, but look at the details, the French doors. This man supposedly, allegedly, just walked in to find his deceased children 3 days prior. Little 2-year-old Jacob and 5-year-old Mia, as well as his wife. But he wants to make sure that you are aware that they were French doors.
As I did that, the deadbolt fell to the floor and made a pretty loud sound. And I opened the door after that and noticed my kids were taking naps on. And,
I wish the sound of the police in the background. Hey, Kathy's. Man, I wish the sound of the police we just heard in the background were them on their way to arrest this man. But unfortunately, they're not. The sound effects, it made a loud noise. What is this man? Writing a script for the next Lifetime movie? What is this man doing? The deadlock fell to the floor and it made a loud noise. Who cares? It scared me. I was scared. Now, you know what we call this? Over-explaining. You know who over-explains? Those who are being dishonest. Oh, Tammy says we have a friend who's 19 years old, was just killed on his motorcycle, hit and run, just last week. And his dad, is not functional right now. Comparing him to this guy is way, way off. Tammy, I'm so sorry to hear that. 19 years old. Wow. I'm so sorry. Yeah, something's weird here. Something is weird here.
on the L-shaped sectional we have, and I saw my friend, but I didn't feel them. I don't know how else to say that. They were there, but I did not feel them. And
on the L-shaped sectional. L-shaped sectional. What is this guy doing? Suddenly a knock appeared, Nana. Right. The chicken nuggets with Chris was absolutely Jor. Let me rewind this back because look at his expression. I couldn't feel them. I don't know how to explain, but I couldn't feel them. This is so bizarre. What time was it? Because he made sure to tell us what time he arrived in the state, right? What time did all this take place, Derek? Hey, good vibes.
I saw my friend, but I didn't feel them. I don't know how else to say that. They were there, but I did not feel them. And I went over to my son and
I'm going to give you all a trigger warning. I don't know this case, but I do know social media thinks he's guilty and he's probably innocent. You know what, Mr. Tomato Head? I can see that. I understand why you would say that, but wait till you hold on to that thought, okay? Because there are so many. There are going to be graphic details about the children and the manner in which he found them. Literally, Davis fam. That is the question of the day. How do you strangle yourself? Well, you got to remember, Gary, he's already set the scene. I broke in with the deadlock. I went to the L-shaped sectional. I touched my children. And then you're going to hear him further explain why his DNA would be all over this house that he did not have a key to. Oh, he gives all the deets. He asked to be interviewed, Kiki. He asked to be interviewed.
put my hand on his back to wake him up, and he was just stiff. And then I saw foam coming out of his mouth and nose, and he had discolorations on his, and I started panicking, and then I went over to my daughter, and
this man arrived. Yes, One, Fragile. One. Absolutely, Angie. One. This man arrived at 4:30 p.m. the day prior. He saw no movement. Lee said they closed out the case. They closed it. 4:30, he arrives in his RVs in the driveway, but he maintained the house. Don't forget that. He maintained the house. The next day, he wakes up and there's Captain Avi. Wait, phone? He has to break a deadlock because he hears no noise. He breaks the deadlock off the French doors where the deadlock drops and makes a loud bang. He goes through the French doors where he goes over to the L-shaped sectional and sees his 2 children. He puts his hand on the back to wake up the baby. You didn't run. You didn't scream. You didn't pick him up immediately. You knew something was off. You had a feeling you needed to break in the house that day. Lord. He shows no emotion, in my opinion. Captain Avi. Oh, yeah. So there was a bloody scene. He's just calm checking on him. He said he panicked. How? Doesn't sound at all like panic. He had a restraining order. He should have been arrested for entering that house. Angie. Can this case be reopened, B-Fam? I sure hope it can. I sure hope it can. We are now going to carry on to how he explains he found his 5-year-old Mia. Captain Avi, I was going to get there with you, girlfriend. Captain Avi says, I thought the babies were drowned, but he found them on the love seat and the boy still had foaming. Someone explain this to me.
She had the same thing. And then I started wondering where their mom was.
She had the same thing. We are talking about 5-year-old baby girl, Mia. And all he could say is she had the same thing, referring to seeing foam coming out of his baby's mouth. But what does he do? He then starts wondering where their mother is. Their mother is. He is distancing himself. He didn't start wondering where Nancy is. Where's Nancy? Where's my wife? No, he started wondering where their mother is. He didn't see the blood or allegedly the slit throat. Thank you, Pristine. I did not monetize today's stream because I am one of those people that believe that YouTube makes us sound like we are making a mockery out of cases by having to censor the words we use instead of being able to directly call things what it is, which in this case, they are claiming it as a murder-suicide. Murder-suicide. They are claiming that this mother, Nancy, that loving mother we saw photos of, not only drowned 2-year-old Jacob and 5-year-old Mia, but slit the throat of Mia. And you know why I want to come back to that? Slit the throat of Mia, because the way this man went into details about his son but blew off Mia explains to me why Mia would be the one with a slit throat. Did Mia look too much like her mother? Was Mia a mommy girl? Was Mia old enough to speak and realize that her daddy was doing things wrong to mommy? Why did Mia have a slit throat? You all tell me what you think.
And immediately I went to the master bathroom. And when I looked in the master bathroom, there was a bathtub full of water and blood. And I couldn't handle processing why that was there, other than that shouldn't be there.
You walk in, you find your children, you find your deceased children. And your first thought is, let me go to the master bathroom? Master bathroom? How many of you are walking in on a scene like that and you think, oh yeah, let me go to the master bathroom where there just so happens to be a tub full of water and blood? The same tub that was used to take the lives of my 2-year-old and 5-year-old. Because she could have talked, Captain Avi. How is he talking without crying? The more I look at him, the more my blood pressure goes up. Right. I still, when I'm talking to my mother, I still refer to my father as daddy. When I'm talking to my father, I still call my mother mommy. He said their mom. Where's their mom? But man, where we're going up, what? We went right to the crime scene, folks. We went right to the crime scene, right to the master bathroom.
And then I proceeded to turn the closets towards the master and saw Nancy in a sitting collapsed position.
The details, folks. Look at him as he looks down. Which direction is he looking? Why is he looking down? He didn't call 911 yet. Oh, he ran to the master bathroom. And then, good thing this guy thought, after going into the master bathroom and seeing a tub full of blood and water, he thought, now let me check the closets. Because that's where we would all go to look, right? Hell, how many of you want to check the closets? The closets would be my first thought too. Master bathroom? Well, now let me go to the closet. He walked himself directly into each scene. Each crime scene. He is telling them why they will find his DNA in a house that he was not allowed into because of restraining orders. He did not have a key. He was not welcomed. But you will find my DNA in each of these places at the scenes because that is where I thought to go. First the master bathroom, and then I headed right to the closet. And what does he do? He once again describes in detail. So if any evidence is found, that is why, officers. Seriously, how many of you are going to go check the bathroom first and then the closet?
In a sitting collapsed position, and there was blood on the floor. And after that, I really don't remember much other than went to call 911. And that's all I remember.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a very.
That's all I remember. These small, unnecessary details are all I remember. The bolt dropped and made a noise through the French doors to the L-shaped couch. I put my hand on my son to wake him up. I realize he is stiff, and then I see foam coming out of his mouth. My daughter, same thing. So I then went to the master bathroom. I thought, where is their mother? Let me check the master bathroom where there's a tub full of water and blood. But I didn't stop there. No. I then went to the closet. Not the bedroom, not the basement, not the kitchen, not the attic. I went to the closet where she happened to be. In a sitting, collapsed position. And there was blood. So I called 911. That's all I remember. 4:30 Wednesday. Van was in the car. Blinds were closed. One light was on. There was no. He remembers all the small little details. When in all actuality, none of them matter. None of them matter unless you're building a defense. Why is he on the defense?
Very traumatic and intense moment. You were speaking about what led up to that. So if we kind of turn the clock back a bit leading up to this terrible tragedy. So it happened in Alabama, but your family is from Washington State and Utah. So can you kind of explain that background to me?
So we originally lived in Washington State, and we decided to move down here after housing prices were going way up. Affordability was not happening. And
So finances were an issue. Okay. Note it, Derek. Finances were an issue. Look at them babies on your screen. She was just sitting in a sitting collapsed position. Nothing of a rope, nothing of hanging. She strangled herself. Absolutely, that's a 1, my friend. That is a 1. Okay.
And so we decided to move down here a year and a half ago. And she has 2 sisters that are in Utah. We never lived there. She did at some point before the time I met her. But that's kind of the history of where we originally came from.
And at the time of this, I believe it was you and
Did you guys see a smirk? Did anybody see a smirk right there? Or am I just I could be overanalyzing this guy. Listen, he gives me the creeps. I may be overanalyzing. Let's rewind it back. Thank you, little Ming. She can strangle herself with a ligature. All right. Thank you for that. Let me see. Anybody else see a smirk here?
Came from.
And at the time of this, I believe it was you and Nancy were estranged that you'd
Was he gowned his smirk so he licked his lips? What was that? I don't know. He smirked. Anybody else see it? Or am I just overanalyzing? I could be overanalyzing. Firstly, Angel, I'm with you. He definitely got even the smallest details. How did she S herself? Did they find what she used? Well, he hasn't told us. What about the weapon that was used to slit the throat of 5-year-old Mia? Where's that at? Looks like he stopped himself from smiling, doesn't it? All right. Let's see.
actually filed for divorce. Can you explain that a bit?
So this is
Actually filed time of this, I believe it was you and Nancy were estranged that you'd actually filed for divorce. Can you explain that a bit?
So this is where it gets interesting. So around Christmas, she expressed she wanted a divorce, but would not tell me the reasons why. And she struggled to find reasons on the divorce documents to state why she wanted a divorce other than emotional differences. And
Hey, Divinely got it. So this is where it's got interesting. This is where it becomes interesting. Did any of you find that interesting? We are talking about a familicide. We are talking to the father of 2-year-old Jacob and 5-year-old Mia that walked in to find both of them deceased by his alleged estranged wife, Nancy. But this is where it gets interesting because she wanted to divorce me, this narcissistic asshole says, but she couldn't give a reason. She couldn't give a reason. She struggled to find a reason. Did she really? Because she didn't struggle to find a reason to get a restraining order. She didn't struggle to find a reason to plead for you to stay away from her and her children. But how interesting. She struggled to find a reason. Because I'm the perfect guy, says Derek. I'm a great father and husband. There's no reason to divorce me. How dare she struggle to find a reason to divorce me? Ugh, the narcissism. But it gets better, guys.
and she started getting irrational with the children around April, saying that I needed to give up all my parental rights. The children were to be in 100% of her custody. I would only see them 2 hours a day when at her convenience. The first
That is not irrational. That is another 1 in the chat. That is not irrational to the children. That's nothing to do with the children. She's telling you there's something wrong with you. The way he phrased that was that she got irrational with the children. Like her behavior towards them was irrational. Absolutely, he despises her, and you can hear it. You know what I've noticed? Have any of you noticed? He has failed to mention her name not even once. Her name was Nancy. Has he said her name? He can't even speak her name. He is distancing himself every way he can from his wife, Nancy. It was her family can't believe it. Their mother, she struggled. She was irrational. Lord.
First initial draft of the divorce that she wrote was completely, I had zero rights, zero anything. And when I left at the end of April, that's when things started getting strange. And I left back to my career at Boeing in Washington State in order to provide for them the best possible means of living for them. And
What a great guy you are. Hey, Tracy Thompson. What a great guy you are, Derek. You left your children to go back to Bowen so you could provide the best life for them. But what do you know? Right when you left, she became unhinged. Suddenly you hear some emotion, but it is anger, says Fragile Like a Bomb. You can hear the resentment. Why did a judge order? Well, we'll get there. We'll get all the way there. Saying one thing and doing an opposite shake of his head. This explains so much. She probably gave him a reason, but he didn't listen. What do you know? The moment he leaves, this great guy leaves, she becomes crazy, right? So now we're going to spend the next however many minutes explaining how unhinged Nancy, the name he refuses to mention, was.
the best possible healthcare, whatever I can for them, given that that was a really good career I had before. And they would remain here in Alabama in our house. And after that, she started making phone calls to the police and SEMS, had these strange reports that I never got to see. And even the police department thought they were very strange on what she was.
Well, if you don't believe me, take the word of the police. Because even the police thought they were strange. She was unhinged. She was nuts. She was crazy. But I left because I wanted to be able to give my kids health insurance. Health insurance. Money was more important than the safety of my children being left with this woman that I'm going to paint as unhinged. I never got to see the police reports. But the police even said, oh, shut up, Derek. You're going to disparage this woman 3 days after her death? And listen, here's my biggest thing, right? Because I can get it. If this woman really did take the life of his children, yes, there would be resentments. Absolutely would be resentments, right? But he claims he wanted to come on here to speak out about mental health. And all he is doing is disparaging her on the basis of her alleged mental health. Make that make sense.
Saying because I was not even in the state anymore. And that's where it all she ended up jumping to a self-help clinic, and she hid there for a while. And that's when the state became involved and started realizing that she was having some sort of mental issues. And
so because he was in the state, there's no way he could be tormenting her. But yet this mother felt it necessary to seek out help from an agency and hide. She hid with her children. He made sure to say he wasn't in the state anymore. What could I be doing? I'm not even in the state anymore. As if we don't know by 2023 that abuse can be done in several ways and you don't have to be in somebody's facility to do so. What was I doing? I wasn't even in the state. Even the police realized there's something wrong here. She's crazy. Well, then why didn't Child Services intervene, Derek? Why didn't you intervene? Why did you remain at your good job at Bowen, states away, knowing that your wife was apparently so unhinged that she took her children from the comfort of her home to hide? Oh, tell me this isn't infuriating. Give me just a minute. I have to use the restroom. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. He's propping himself up while destroying a reputation. Classic narcissist. And the state told him she was crazy, right? When did this happen? September 28th. Some LA departments are just incompetent. I'm sorry. Someone will come along, though, and open this case, do the right thing. Some LA are just too fast to close things.
This was not a stable environment for the children because she had a perfectly safe house and she was not in there. And I wasn't even in the state. Eventually, I filed for emergency custody because there's something not right going on with her. And
once again, I wasn't even in the state. Another flag. We are all still here, Jess. 21 months, Bella. Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow. You're amazing. Thank you. Thank you to everyone that is here. Thank you to everyone that has stayed here. Really means a lot to me. Thank you. Judge said she was safe with the kids. Well, no, he's saying she wasn't safe. She wasn't safe. But he was still states away. He wasn't even in the state, guys. Oh, he is just disparaging her all over.
And the statements she was giving them were not adding up. And so that was granted to me in June. And after that was granted, Nancy, for whatever reason, decided to agree to start some counseling and try to reconcile. And she had refused any sort of counseling, mental help, or anything since we've been together. And
so let's look at this timeline here, right? Hey, British. April. He leaves and her mental health declines. Allegedly a day, Tomato Head. But yet foam coming out of their mouths. Okay, after they were drowned. All right, So April, he leaves. Her mental health starts declining. She leaves the house and she's in a safe place and calling police. But he's not in the States. June, he files for custody. And in response to being granted some sort of custody of these children, he turns around and she agrees to couple counseling. That's sweet. This sounds like a man that wasn't willing to give up his family. This sounds like a man that was sounds like a narcissist, what it sounds like. Let me rewind this back a little bit. I want to hear that again. Because he wants to make sure you all know that she was mentally unstable and wouldn't get help prior. Let's rewind this back.
he, for whatever reason, decided after that was me in June. And after that was granted, Nancy, for whatever reason, decided to agree to start some counseling and try to reconcile. And she had refused any sort of counseling, mental help, or anything since.
So Nancy loved her kids enough that she was willing to go to counseling the minute that he was granted some sort of custody. She was willing to go to counseling for her children, is what it sounds like to me. Thank you so much, Angela. It's so sweet of you. Needs to be in control. Abusive prick. The way he talks about having to move for a good job to pay to support the biggest red flag to me. He's got to make sure everyone knows that she was the unstable one. She made it not safe for the kids. So take her kids, and he knows that would make her go back to him. Right. Yes, that's what I'm getting. Hey, kind of, sort of, in a way. I'm catching up to speed. Does anyone know this guy's middle name? The middle name. I do not. Derek Johnson is all I have right now. I see a smirk. Yep. The fact that her family isn't fighting is alarming, but apparently they are fighting, Tammy. They don't believe this. They don't believe it.
Since we've been together. And so that was a surprise to me. So me as a father, I'm supposed to provide a good, loving environment for them and a safe place to live. And so I would rather work on the relationship other than end it. And
Do we got another red flag or what? Me as a father. Again, Derek is the greatest man. Derek is mentally sane. He's a good financial provider. He puts his kids first. And him as a father. Well, wait a minute. You just sat here and said for about, 10 minutes now? How unsafe the children were in her care? Now, all of a sudden, the safest thing was to keep the family together. Now they were safe in her care so long as she would be with you? Because that's what it sounds like to me. The cops are saying their mother did this, Robin. Yes, they are. The cops are saying the mother did this. The mother allegedly drowned these 2 babies, slit the 5-year-old Mia's throat, and then strangled herself. Why would she? Derek. It is Derek Johnson. Mm, mm, mm.
And she took advantage of my love towards her and was able to cancel the divorce, cancel the emergency order through her persuasion through me. And I was stupid. I didn't see what she was doing.
11111. 11111. What did we just hear there? Oh, aren't you right, Penny? What the actual fuck? She took advantage of my love. Took advantage of my love. This woman who he just painted as absolutely insane, making false police reports, taking the children out of the safety of their home, going to a self-help clinic. She's so unhinged, even the police know it. But the minute you had, the great father, Derek he is, the minute he had the opportunity to save his children from her craziness, she was able to take advantage of his love. And she used him. Because it sounds to me like this man just wanted control and he just wanted Nancy. And if he couldn't have Nancy, nobody else would. That's what I'm picking up on. Let's rewind that back because that blew my mind.
Was able to cancel the divorce and she took advantage of my love towards her. And
he sure did say it. He sure did say it. She canceled the divorce. And mind you, this is in June, July, August, September. 3 months. 3 months. And it sounded like he knew how to control her with the finances, with the children. Mind you, in the beginning, he said she couldn't even come up with a reason to divorce me. She was struggling to find a reason to divorce me. He sure does, Jason. He is so cringe.
Was able to cancel the divorce, cancel the emergency order through her persuasion through me. And I was stupid. I didn't see what she was doing. And she eventually took the children down to Utah, refused to tell me where they were at.
All right. So we're going to put bums. You know why? You know what sticks out here? Who remembers this? Thank you so much, Angela. It's really so sweet of you. Thank you for the compliment. Who remembers in the beginning of this man out of nowhere randomly mentions that she had 2 sisters in Utah. Anybody recall that? I wish I should have wrote down the timestamp. I didn't even realize it. Anybody recall hearing him randomly mention when they asked, why did you move to this area? And he said, because of finances. And he said, let me bring it back a hair. And then he proceeds to mention out of nowhere that she had 2 sisters in Utah. Why was that relevant there? Because it didn't fit in. When I was listening, I was thinking, well, this doesn't fit in. Why is this relevant? What does this have to do with anything? Well, now we know why. And and then he said she lived there at some point before they met. So now, out of nowhere, this crazy woman is able in my opinion, to convince her abuser that she loves him again. And then flee once again with the children.
He took the children down to Utah, refused to tell me where they were at. All I know is that they were at her sister's, and I had no info on where that was, and she refused to tell me. I didn't have her sister's contact info.
So you mean to tell me this father that loves his kids so much couldn't do a goddamn Google search the same way we all could? You know the name of her sister. You can absolutely find out where in Utah she is located. But poor good father Derek, why would this woman refuse to tell you? What was really going on? I would love to know that too. Why is no one from her family speaking up in regards to these claims? So her family hated him too. He didn't have sister's number. Why doesn't he know her family? Why don't you know what? You don't know her family? Remember in the beginning, he even said her family. This is all weird. But okay, tell us more, Derek. Mind you, this is a few short days. This is October 3rd. The tragedy took place on September 28th. Why is this all important to tell us?
And I hadn't seen them since the day they disappeared down to Utah around the end of June. I hadn't seen them at all until this last court date on the 20th of September. And that's when the judge ordered me to go up to Washington and grab my RV and come back down in a nesting agreement where we would alternate living in the house and the RV until we had a final permanent court order for our divorce.
All right, so timeline. In April. She files for divorce. He leaves and goes to another state. She then spends the next few months up until June, right? Trying to escape him and flee him. And she's calling police and she's going to these agencies seeking help, seeking safety for her and her children. He goes and he gets a temporary custody order. Mind you, he's already saying she's crazy. Even the police know it. Goes and gets temporary police custody order. And instead of taking the safety of his children, he takes his own personal needs and love that she took advantage of. And then his mother goes and runs again with these kids. And you mean to tell me there's nothing weird about any of this? The day he shows up, September 20th, they are granted to interchange living in the house and the RV with the children. The day he shows up is the day they are found deceased. Now, could it be this mother wanted to save her children from this man? Did she do this to protect her children and herself? I don't think so. You know why? Because the way it was done. Yeah, because the judge told me to. Even the police knew. The judge and the police backed me up. She's crazy. She's crazy, says Ellie. She's crazy, says the judge.
That's what stood out to me too, that interesting order from the judge that you would kind of rotate living in that RV or camper.
Yeah.
How long did that go on?
It never happened. I arrived Wednesday at 4:30 is when I got on my property, and that never happened. That was the agreement, but I believe she mentally could not comprehend that, because
isn't it amazing that all of a sudden these children are in the comfort of his home? He failed to tell us how that took place. Last we heard they were hiding in Utah. I don't think so, Penny. I just, it's a horrific way, and I don't believe it. I don't believe this mother that we are seeing in these photos and these footage Close this to allow him to slip up. Oh, wouldn't that be great? On my property. Judge only said you can't keep him from your kids. I'm sure he never said she was crazy. Right. On my property that I didn't have a key for. When did the kids, when did he know they were back on his property? Why was that failed to be mentioned? He told us every other little detail. When did she come back from Utah?
Because she wanted full control of the children and no sort of interaction from me. And I don't know. They had told us that if we did not agree to that, the children immediately to foster care because of her accusations of domestic violence and the protective order she had filed on me.
And now we hear it. And now we find out her allegations of domestic violence and the protection order she filed on me. Hey, Barbie doll. So this woman's just so crazy. She uprooted her kids and ran. Right? Why? Why? And there it is. Here it comes.
Were there any domestic violence incidents in the house?
Never. The only time anything ever occurred was the 17th of September, where I flew in from Pensacola and drove down here to my house to find a white F-150 I did not recognize. And
Are you guys picking up what I'm picking up? Are you guys hearing this? What date did he just say? September 17th. How come we just heard up until this moment that he arrived on September 27th at 4:30 p.m.? Now we're hearing he was there on the 17th? You were there on the 17th? So she had another man? Is that what we're hearing? The only incident that ever took place is because she was cheating on me. Man, he is just disparaging her all over the place, isn't he?
Pensacola and drove down here to my house to find a white F-150 I did not recognize, and the locks were different on the house. She had changed them out. So I proceeded to the back side of the house where I'd purposely left a window in case she tried to change the locks out on me.
This motherfucker left a window of his house. Listen to the anger in his voice. In case she tried to change the locks on me. How dare she change the locks on me? This is my house. This is my family. You can't divorce me. You don't even have a reason to divorce me. Oh, you can see the red. You can hear the anger. He started with she didn't even have a reason to divorce me. How they aren't seeing this.
A window where she immediately tried to push me out the window, clawed my arms, and told me I needed to go away. She doesn't want me around the children. I am again. And at that point, I got over the couch, and all I told her, I said, look, I just want to hug my children.
Oh, fuck you, Derek. Oh, fuck you, Derek. He climbed in the window where she tried to push him out. Yeah, you're not welcomed. You're breaking and entering. You're not welcomed here. How dare she? But why isn't the couch L-shaped now? Now he just got over. I just want to hug my children. What, because you saw an F-150 in your driveway? Now you want to hug your children? Now all of a sudden you can get there for your children. What happened in April when she was going insane and your children were in so much danger? You sure as hell didn't take that driver that flight then, did you, Derek? Because you see a truck? Right. He just admitted to breaking in, but she's crazy, Angie. She's crazy. Even the police know it. The judge knows it. How is this closed? How? Yeah, everyone wants to see their ex climb through a window. That's not scary for the children. Daddy comes breaking through a window. Mommy screaming, get out. I just want to hug them. That's not odd. That's not traumatizing. Derek's just a great father. He just wants to love them.
You can call the police if you want. I said, I just want to give my son and daughter a hug. I haven't seen them for almost 3 months at that point. And
You went 3 months without seeing your children who you claim were in a dangerous area, who you claim were endangered by their mother's decline in mental health. So you climb through a window. You can just call the police. I just want to hug. You notice how he says, I just want to hug my son and my daughter. Well, what do we know? The daughter's throat was slit. He described in great detail how he went to his son and tried to wake him and put his hand on his back. And the daughter, well, she was just the same way. It's the same way, just the daughter. Yeah. Why did he go on the 17th?
So she proceeded to call them while I was giving my son a hug. And I picked him up, and she proceeded to grab him and rip him out of my arms, and he started crying.
There we have it again. The son. The son. I picked up the son. I was hugging the son. She grabbed him out of my arms. You're breaking in their house. You don't think that's traumatizing to their children? Normal folks would. Hey, Nancy. I want to see the kids I haven't seen in 3 months. I'm just going to show up. I didn't try to break through the window because I saw an F-150. No. Hey, Tammy. Me. I'm a great father. 3 months. Son. Have we picked up yet that the son was his favorite?
And then she grabbed Mia and dragged them outside to sit in the car while she waited for the police. And then I was left in the house with this guy I didn't know, and I don't know. And then I found out there was a protective order against me that was filed in the state of Utah that I had never been served paper sort of awareness on. And I was taken into jail for 24 hours because it was in their system, even though she.
You mean to tell me on September 17th, this man was placed into jail for breaking a restraining order that he didn't know about. After breaking and entering and terrifying the children, and a week later, they are found deceased in a horrific manner, and he's the one to climb across the scene, and this is a closed case? Oh, Penny, the daughter has something with her arm. Imperfections are not much liked by narcissists either. It makes them feel like it reflects on them. Wow. That is so sad to hear. They should be ashamed. This should not be closed.
She's the one who assaulted me and tried pushing me out. But the accusations, I never got to see anything on what she accused me of. All I know, it was 17 pages long, and she did it when she was hiding the children in Utah.
She assaulted me when I broke in through a window. She's the one that should be me. I have a restraining order against me. 17 pages. You mean to tell me this woman who has from the beginning tried to escape this man who said she had no reason to divorce me, filed 17 pages and was granted a restraining order, but he is innocent?
So we've talked a bit about Nancy's mental state at the time of the murders and even leading up to it. You referenced it when I first sat down with you, talking about bringing awareness to mental health. So can you give me a better sense of what was going on? What do you think was going through Nancy's mind at this time?
Shame on this reporter. Shame on you. Shame on you. You're going to continue to allow him. You're going to ignore all the red flags you just heard. Wow.
Honestly, she is not, during this time, she is not the same person that I married, and everything I am 100% started during the beginning of the pandemic. Back when QAnon started, she was calling me at work and telling me everything that was going to happen. I need to watch out for blackouts and whatever else. And that's where it all started. And then anything else that came out after that, she just absorbed as real information. And
So strange. She was able to get a relationship and a new man while being so unhinged. Hey, good Ann, drive carefully. Where mom unalived the kids, now she's paralyzed from jumping. I remember that. Yeah. Victim blaming. Victim blaming. Tomatoes to the reporter all the way.
it got worse and worse and worse. And I believe her grounding in reality disappeared on what was right and what's not right and what's.
Let's not forget, he said that she didn't get mentally insane until he left in April when she filed for the divorce and kicked him out. Now, all of a sudden, it started back during the pandemic. She was crazy then. QAnon. This man is pushing all the hot points, isn't he? He sure is. Oh, she was crazy during the pandemic. She was QAnon and she thought this and that and da da da. But well, wait, you said it didn't start till April. Now it was back during the pandemic. So you left your children? Wow.
What's true and what's not true. And she didn't have, and she put it above family life is the biggest thing. She would not get off her phone. It was constant social media. And
Let's rewind that, right? She wanted to get off her phone. It was constant social media. But what do we see here? Oh, there she is on a plane with her children. What was the other photo they showed right along this part too? There she is. Where's the phone at, Derek? The kids' hair's done. They're dressed up every time. They're clean. She's taking photos of them playing. She's out on the beach with them. She's in the plane with them. At what point? She was so neglectful. She was just always on her phone, right, Derek? At the park, we seen photos of them at the park. We saw photos of her interacting with them. We saw her recording the kids playing around the house.
grounding in reality disappeared on what was right and what's not right and what's true and what's not true. And she didn't have, and she put it above family life is the biggest thing. She would not get off her phone. It was constant social media. And that's in my opinion, those views, those types of situations is what led to this. And her refusal to get any sort of counseling, help, medication, anything is also a reason why this happened. And I can't force her to do anything. I can't call up the wagon and take her away to get her on her feet. That
So here we are once again, right? I couldn't force her. Yeah, you could force her. Oh. She was so crazy during the whole pandemic. She filed for divorce. She wanted away from him. What is he even talking about? He's blaming her being on a phone. Those kids look pretty well cared for. I agree. Nancy needed counseling, but not Derek. No. Derek's great. But Derek's the one that left the children in the care of a woman he is now painting as insane. But he's a great father. He just wants to hug the kids, Amanda. He just wants to give them, all the financial needs. He's great. Didn't even see W have some nice things to say about Shanann. He wouldn't say her name for a while either. We still have not heard Derek mention Nancy by her name.
and she made a choice. She wanted zero help.
Matter of fact, he hasn't mentioned me or Jacob either. It is my daughter and my son.
You had made mention just in that previous answer about QAnon and some incidents over the pandemic. I mean, that was a very intense time for a lot of people. A lot of people spent more time on the internet. So, with that reference to QAnon or some of the rabbit holes she may have gone down, do you think that she may have been a conspiracy theorist?
It wasn't that she was a conspiracy theorist. It was that she had an open mind of possibilities of different things happening. And she was always and that's how everyone should be, as open-minded of possibilities of different things that happen in the world. But the problem was she could not process when, let's say, some statement or issue came out that was very wild. She could not let that go, even if it was proven wrong. It was just kind of taken as face fact, put into her mind, and she just kept going. And I think a lot of she read tons of stories of cases like this, or also cases of sex trafficking. Is very taxing on the mind.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He sure did. He just said she studied cases like this. She read cases like this. She was very into cases like this. This is not good on your mind. So what? Is this how she came up with it, Derek? Oh, wow. Wow. Crazy controlling man, Barbie, if you ask me.
And she just, I think she got too entangled in that and could not detach from that. And I think that was a really big issue that she didn't recognize, that she backed herself away from that, having young.
So was it the COVID? Was it the COVID? Was it the QAnon? Was it the conspiracies, or was it the true crime cases, or maybe it was the sex trafficking of children? Which one was it, Derek? Do you guys notice that he touched on every hot point there is, on every emotional point there is? Wow.
Children and having a family.
And you've made a couple of notes as well about this mental health issue that she may have had, that you said she refused to receive any sort of counseling. Is that something that you were pressing for, either group or family counseling, or individual for her?
I was trying to at least get marriage counseling, and some just one-on-one counseling separate from each, just something to get her in the door.
What's the first thing he mentioned? What's the first thing he mentioned? Let's rewind it back. You listen to this red flag here. Mind you, he is saying she is detached from reality. She is so far gone. So what does the reporter ask? And what is his first answer? Marriage counseling?
That you said she refused to receive any sort of counseling. Is that something that you were pressing for, either group or family counseling, or individual for her?
I was trying to at least get marriage counseling, and some just one-on-one counseling separate from each, just something to get her in the door. And she refused. She honestly thought they were going to prescribe her medications, and she honestly thought they were going to try to inject her with something. It was just absolutely.
Oh, here this fucker goes. She thought they were going to put a tracking device in her, right? Typical QAnon, let me make them look crazy type of shit. This man. But we wanted marriage counseling. You're right, Penny. She's crazier than a bed bug. So I think we need marriage counseling. How dare she? Remember, she had no reason to file. She struggled to find reasons to file. Right. When's he going to go into literally anything? He's just a perfect man, Devil Mike. What do you mean? Derek's the best father, daddy ever. Ever. As he is mourning the loss of his children from just a few days prior that he walked in on. Don't ever forget that. This is all while his babies are deceased, probably haven't made arrangements yet for funerals. This is all in that frame. Get in the door. What door? The door to stay with him?
No matter what I did, there was an excuse why she didn't want to do it.
Can anybody else see how animated he is now? Look at now, he's showing emotions, right? Look at him. Now he's lit up. Because this is this motherfucker's favorite thing to do, is to trash Nancy. In the beginning, he's all slopey and he's barely talking. Let me read, and you see no emotion, no interaction, no, like a robot. But now you can see the anger. I agree with you, Mr. Tomato Head. Maybe he is innocent. Maybe they saw nothing. Maybe Ellie considered him suspect, but the evidence just didn't line up, and the evidence points to her doing it. Thin circumstantial evidence means nothing if physical evidence says otherwise. Maybe.
So moving forward,
There isn't something, it was just absolutely, no matter what I did, there was an excuse why she didn't want to do it.
So moving forward to last week, after this devastating news that you receive, I mean, firsthand going into the crime scene, officials on the scene, mark it off. This has been the scene of a murder. What are the early stages of the investigation? Were you looped in on any of that?
That's really interesting. So I had communication with the detective, but during the whole time, the media, everyone else found out the details happened during the day when here's how it kind of went. I was, taken down to their administrative building.
Again, we are getting more. Hey, welcome, K9 Rules. Thank you for becoming a member. Welcome. Did he just laugh? He sure did, Penny, while remembering that horrible day. I don't want to, but I have outdoor winterizing due today. Oh, Barbie, I can't stay in winter. We'll talk to you later. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for being here. I don't like him. I don't even know him. His attitude is massively off. Yes. So he giggles. Let me tell you about my experience. Because it's funny, right? Yeah.
Gave my statements on what I found and happened. Then I was driven to a hotel room where I stayed until they released the crime scene. And I think it was foolish to leave someone in a hotel room unmonitored after they just lost 3 family members. I mean, that's like setting someone up. I know I would never, ever hurt myself, but I know other people are not as stable as me. But
Because you're just such a big, strong man, Derek. You're just such a all-around great guy, and you were so strong. But how dare they just put you in a hotel room? What did you want? You want to sit on their fucking laps? What did you want from them? I'm glad you found this too, literally, Davis fam. Thank you. The actual F, says Fragile. Injector with something, what? Crappy details from the victim, D-bag Derek. Looking for sympathy. This man. Oh. What do we call Chris Watts saying? It feels so empty. It was so hard being in this house. It just felt so empty. He made it empty.
I mean, that's like setting someone up. I know I would never, ever hurt myself, but I know other people are not as stable as me. But at least someone check on you. I only had the church checking on me, and that's the biggest thing during the times is having someone check on you and making sure okay.
How do you know what the biggest thing is during those times, Derek? Is it because you studied it? And how they just didn't even take care of him, those foolish people. How dare they, Penny? I mean, they just dropped his grown ass that busted through a window to hug his son and left him in a hotel room. They didn't even check on him. This poor guy. They didn't check on you, Derek? Aw. What a narcissist. Maybe they're at the house checking on the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old they found deceased, Derek. Maybe their focus was on figuring out what happened to your family, Derek. But yes, how dare they not take time out to check on you? Oh, even the church supports me. I'm such a great guy. You're right, Devil Mike.
Someone check on you. I only had the church checking on me, and that's the biggest thing during the times is having someone check on you and making sure okay.
and as some
And he looks angry by it. Doesn't he look angry by it? That's the biggest thing, is have someone check on you and make sure you're okay. Huff. Look down. Sad. Woe is me. Right. I wouldn't be worried about myself. Find out who did this to my family. Who slit the throat of my 5-year-old Mia? Oh, he didn't. Oh, God.
Someone who works in true crime, I cover a lot of stories like this, unfortunately. And in the early stages of the investigation, often what happens is that officials look at the significant other, the spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend. Is that something that officials have done with you? Question you? Do you believe that you were a suspect or person of interest in the case?
I think for maybe when they showed up on scene, but like I believe the sheriff even said it. Once I gave up, I said, "Here, take my phone. You want to see my phone?" I just gave whatever they wanted, and I told them everything that I could that I knew.
Once again, the sheriff signs with me. Once again, even the sheriff says it can't be me. Why is he always looking for validation? Why is he always having to co-sign himself with some type of validation? Oh, have fun. What movie are you seeing, Texas? That's awesome. You guys notice that the judge agreed with me, the cops agree with me, the church supports me, even the sheriff. The sheriff, what? Because you offered up your phone, creep? Because the day after you allegedly arrive in town, he was there on the 17th, though. He failed to tell anybody that in the beginning. Oh, that's exciting, Texas. I want to see that. I didn't even know that was out. Here, take my phone. Take my phone. What is the phone showing? You already made it. You already made a point to say you arrived there at 4:30. You already laid down all the work. You already made a point to explain why you entered the bathroom, because we all checked the bathroom first. And then we head to the closets next, right? The two crime scenes. Right, where's his family? Where are they all at to check on you, Derek?
Once they started seeing the facts and the situation and the timeline and how I matched up, they knew I wasn't a suspect. And it is still ongoing, so they may still be investigating other things, but I don't think once they all saw the scene, they was a suspect.
Once they saw the timeline and me and what a wonderful guy I am. Letitia, I keep going to Chris Watts, but Letitia, they don't suspect me. No. I mean, maybe they're looking into other people, but not me. So you mean to tell me, Derek, that while you were asking to go on long crime national news and you're giving out all these statements to all these news articles and all these, websites and everything, and you're starting to GoFundMe, you think there's a chance that there is somebody else that could have done this? Oh, thank you, Callie Smithers. You have surely found your place. Enjoy your true crime videos. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But this is what we're saying here, Derek. 5 days after walking in on this graphic scene where the daughter is neglected in any detail. Oh, this guy, man.
Are you cooperating with the investigation as it continues, and are they giving you updates?
Absolutely, yeah. I would, I always cooperated with them. I've been given updates, but not much, and they have just told me it's still ongoing. There's still things that are Nancy's possessions and her phone and various clothing. She had taken a backpack or a luggage.
Well, I'm glad to hear they're not giving him much updates. I'm caught up. I made a mistake, the same as the rest of the world. And Demon was his face, 100% guilty of murder. He was interviewed in his home on camera. He was not guilty, so I swore never again. However, from seeing the interview, there are red flags everywhere. So it's not closed. Well, this was, I read it was closed. We're going to take a look at that in just a minute. I also want to point out here, because I found this to be, listen closely, guys. Listen very closely here.
Bag over to the neighbors. I believe it was Wednesday, and told one of the neighbors, if anything happens to me, it was my husband. And that was very strange because I believe it was Wednesday, and told one of the neighbors, if anything happens to me, it was my husband. And that was very strange because that was home that she shut off, and I wasn't even home yet. It was my husband. And that was very strange because that was phone that she shut off, and I wasn't even home yet.
Boom. She went to the neighbors on Wednesday with a note that read, if anything happens to me, it was my husband. But that was very strange because the phone she had shut off and I wasn't even home yet. But you were there on the 17th, Derek. You were there on the 17th, Derek, when you busted through her window, Derek. If anything happens to me, it was my husband. Biggest takeaway here. Look at this news reporter, just like, oh, okay, yeah. All right, Derek. Oh, that's not weird. Sure. This woman who was living in fear since April, who filed for divorce but had no goddamn reason, apparently, according to Derek, was trying every which way to keep her and her children safe from him. Wow. Wow. And look at the reporter. Nothing to say. Let's see what she has to say, because surely this would be like, but no.
As we're moving forward with this and new details come out, we're still kind of coming to terms with this. And I'm sure you are.
You're not going to acknowledge that bombshell, lady. You're not going to acknowledge that.
Husband. And that was very strange because that was home that she shut off and I wasn't even home yet.
As we're moving forward with this and new details come out, we're still kind of coming to.
And there's still things that are Nancy's possessions and her phone and various clothing. She had taken a backpack or a luggage bag over to the neighbors. I believe it was Wednesday, and told one of the neighbors, if anything happens to me, it was my husband. And that was very strange because that was home that she shut off and I wasn't even home yet.
As we're moving forward with this and new details.
What is he saying? So she dropped off a backpack and told the neighbor if anything happens to me, and in the backpack was a phone that she shut off. Is that what he's saying there? She shut off a phone and put it in that backpack. I hope that phone has evidence, along with the 17-page restraining order that led to his arrest on the 17th when he broke into her home because he saw a truck in the driveway. This man was stalking this woman, if you ask me.
Details come out, we're still kind of coming to terms with this, and I'm sure you are, the scene that you found. Is there anything you want people to know about your children or your estranged wife?
This motherfucker better say their name. Say their name here, Derek.
Their memory as it lives on?
This was not Nancy's behavior. Nancy always went above and beyond as a mother, and
he just sat here throughout this whole interview and says since the pandemic she's been a lunatic, and now he wants you all to know that this is not Nancy's behavior after you just sat this entire interview and said that she was insane since the pandemic. Now this was not her.
And it was incredible to watch her when we had Mia as our first child, and her to learn and grow. And she took that, and Jacob, it was a great experience. Our house was always filled with joy, happiness. Our kids were always, there was very little pouting or grunting, or it was just, they loved life. And
like a true narcissist, he wants to point out how great his children were. There was no pouting, arguing, no. So which is it, Derek? Was it a happy, loving home, or did they have a mother who spent too much time online looking at conspiracies while losing her mind and neglecting her children? Which one was it, Derek? Wow.
our house was always filled with joy, happiness. Our kids were always, there was very little pouting or grunting, or it was just, they loved life. And, I honestly think there's a lot of people who.
Let's rewind it back too. What else did he say? He says something about watching her grow and learn as a mother. What did he say about Mia? I want to rewind that back and pay attention to that. Hey, Seashell.
That lives on.
This was not Nancy's behavior. Nancy always went above and beyond as a mother, and it was incredible to watch her when we had Mia as our first child, and her to learn and grow.
Again, like a fucking narcissist. It was amazing to watch her learn and grow when we had our first child. It was amazing. It was amazing to watch her learn and grow as she had, because it was, That's what he has to say, like a narcissist. I'm sorry, that's just like a narcissist statement. Watch her learn and grow. As we have, oh God. So she was a better mother to your son that you obviously favored. Is that what we're saying? Look at this beautiful little girl. Look at this baby on the screen. Look at her. Her throat was slit. Right. Well, he didn't have to learn and grow. They didn't learn and grow as a team. They didn't learn and grow to parent as a team because he's already the perfect daddy, Derek. Look at her.
And she took that, and Jacob, it was a great experience. Our house was always filled with joy, happiness. Our kids were always, there was very little pouting or grunting, or it was just, they loved life. And
we were perfect. We were a perfect family, joy and happiness and all the good shit, right? But yet she filed a 17-page restraining order against me. She ran for her life. She pleaded for her life. She came back to me to save her life.
You know, I honestly think there's a lot of people who divorce prematurely, truly don't put the work into their relationship.
What a fucking weird thing to say. Boom, another red flag. I truly think a lot of people, what? This all goes back to Nancy wanting to divorce him. The first thing he mentions is she had no reason to divorce me. And the last thing he mentions is people divorcing too quickly. This is so bizarre to me.
I honestly think there's a lot of people who divorce prematurely, truly don't put the work into their relationship. And they do realize that having that stable home environment helps both the children and the parents keep it all together when you're going through rough times.
My children ended up deceased. My wife ended up deceased because she wanted to divorce me. That's what I'm hearing. Anybody else hearing that? She had no reason to divorce me. And because she tried to divorce me, they ended up deceased. If I was in that home, this would not have happened. Or is it because you were in that home that this did happen? I don't know, Derek.
Yeah. Derek, thank you again for taking
That fake little huff of fucking air at the end. I was like, he did them a favor. Yeah, I was willing to try. But when you saw your wife was going crazy from the QAnon stuff, did you try to get her counseling? Well, I tried to get her marriage counseling. When I got the chance to save my children from this lunatic I just painted for all of you, I allowed her to take advantage of my love by convincing me to drop the divorce. We stopped the divorce and we stopped the exchange of custody of the children, right? Because she was willing to give me a chance. You can't tell me this all doesn't come down to this man, this piece of shit on the screen, this non-grieving father who walked in to find his 2 babies and his wife deceased, and then has the audacity to say the police did not check on him. Okay? That this doesn't all come down to this man being a narcissist that was unwilling to accept the fact that Nancy no longer wanted to be him. Nancy feared him. And Nancy was ready to move on with her life, with her and her children, and prosper. And he wasn't going to have that. He was not going to have that. And because he couldn't have that, those babies are dead. Nancy is dead. I'm shocked that this interview went on the way it did. I'm shocked that she ignored every single red flag. She didn't even flinch to it. Maybe she did it on purpose. Let's hope she did it on purpose to keep him talking. I don't know. But I find it all bizarre. You can't tell me there's not so many red flags with this case. He asked for this interview. Let's play it out. Let's finish it out.
the time to speak with us about something that's very tragic and I'm sure difficult for your family. So again, sorry for your loss.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we at Long
Yeah, thank you for having me. Not my children were beautiful. They were let me tell you a little bit about 2-year-old Jacob. He loved trucks. He loved playing with his older sister, Mia, who was a great, great girl. She played with him. She entertained him. They were happy. They were healthy. They were loved. They never pouted. They never grunted. That's what he said. That was his answer about his children. Like a narcissist. Like a damn narcissist. Let's look at him at the end here, okay? And let's go back to the beginning. Look how red his face got talking about Nancy.
Holding up right now.
He is trying to give the emotions he thinks they want to see. And on September 17th, he was made aware she was moving on with a man with an F-150. So he broke in the window. I can't believe, I think this case, let me see something. Let's see. Let's look. Let's see if this case is closed, because it better not be. It better not be. Oh, I'm dead inside. I've cried all weekend. Father's still in shock. Let's play this really quick. Hold on.
Understand why she did this, because she wouldn't let me in, and she wouldn't let anyone else in when it came to what she was thinking.
Once again, him. The interview we just played was the 28th. This one, I'm sorry, was the 3rd of October. This one was just a few days ago. Here he is once again, because she wouldn't let me in. I was the hero. I was the man. I needed to be there. Ugh.
She had shut everyone out and put a face onto everyone that everything was okay.
Well, the raw emotion they're coming tonight, this is in regards to the murder of 2 young children in Sims, an update to a story we've been following.
She put a mask on and pretended everything was okay. Bullshit. She moved with her sister. She called the police. She filed a restraining order. What?
According to Mobile County Sheriff's investigators, Nancy Johnson first killed her 2 children, then hanged herself. Johnson's brothers and her estranged husband talking to Fox News today.
Brendan Kirby is joining us now in the studio with the update on the story.
Well, Anise and Byron, the kid's father says that he's still trying to process the horror of finding the bodies. He says this was the culmination of a mental health spiral that his wife had suffered over the past couple of years. Nancy Johnson's estranged husband and her brothers grasping for answers in the wake of the Mobile County Sheriff's Office conclusion that she drowned her 2 young children and then hanged herself last week.
She loved her children so much. That's a thing that I watch, is her rationality on how to love your children just disappeared.
Sims police responded to several domestic disturbance calls at the couple's home on Evergreen.
Did he just say her rationality on how to love the children disappeared? Is that what he just said?
Disturbance calls.
Children just rationality on how to love your children just disappeared.
Sims.
What?
Rationality on how to love your children just disappeared.
Sims police responded to several domestic disturbance calls at the couple's home on Evergreen Court.
Several domestic violence calls. Several. Not one, like Derek wants you all to believe on the 17th when he was just a father breaking in to hug his kids.
In Sims.
It has a combination to do with all the conspiracy theories that went out there. It has a combination to do with all the lockdowns. It just compounded on her, and it got worse and worse, and she never let it go.
And court records show that the 39-year-old woman flew to Utah and persuaded a judge to sign a protection from abuse order against Derek Johnson. He says it was all a tactic to gain custody of the children.
Plain and simple. I never have done that. I've always been there for them. Never have made a home environment that's hazardous or chaotic for them or dangerous. Always been a protective father.
Nancy Johnson's brother, Freddie and James Leo.
Isn't he just an all-around great guy? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can't with this guy. I can't with him. This is this is infuriating.
Leon said that they just can't believe she would ever have harmed her.
My sister, and I am sure she will never do anything to harm her children. She was worried about the safety of her kids.
Nancy, and we know her very well, very well. She was a very strong woman. She has a very protective network of family.
Derek Johnson.
So we have the father, the classic narcissistic Derek, saying that she shut everybody out and she da 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 da. But here her family saying no. She had a supportive system in her family. She would never do this.
Says that he'll need at least a month to determine what he'll do next, whether that's moving back to Washington State or trying to pick up the pieces here. The sheriff, meanwhile, has said that he's looking into possible systemic failures and is asking why child welfare authorities didn't intervene. Reporting live from the news center, Brendan Kirby.
So they're just going ahead and they're saying that she's guilty. And you know what pisses me off? He needs about a month. That the two men that spoke were her brothers. He needs about a month to figure out what he's going to do. But as of 3 days ago, he put up a GoFundMe to stay in that home. You tell me what loving father, what great father, what man, that would be able to go back into the home where he not only found his children deceased, but their lives were taken in. That there's something creepy about this guy. Listen, I'm going to stay on top of this one. I know they're saying it's closed. I hope that's not true. They're going to look into why CPS failed. Now look into why you failed as police officers. This woman had restraining orders for a reason. She left a note to the neighbors. There's so many red flags here. And I don't know what this comes down to, but I have a really bad feeling with it. This is all just unbelievable to me. Now, this poor woman, this beautiful woman on the screen is going to be painted as a lunatic. They're going to blame the pandemic. They're going to blame social media. They're going to blame true crime while they all overlook the red flags within the husband. He is a narcissist by all means. There's so many red flags. But go fulfill his GoFundMe, guys. The hard worker now needs your money to tear out the bathroom and the tub. It's so cringe. I can't. Listen, that is enough of this today. I give my condolences to Nancy's family. Prayers for the children. I can't imagine how the past year of their lives have been, running from their own father. Nancy pleading for help and being ignored because this narcissist was able to convince otherwise. You know what? He's been on plenty of interviews, Irvin, plenty, and I think you're right about that. I think you're right. I think this guy's going to talk until he can't talk no more. And if they stop ignoring the red flags and they keep an open mind, wow. Derek, you are going to be I just can't. I appreciate all of you. Please hit the thumbs up. I hope you all have a great Saturday. I'm hoping this rain holds off and I can maybe go over to some fall festivals with the kids. If not, maybe I'll go check out the movie Saw 10. I didn't even know that was out. Who would have thought they'd come out with this many Saw movies? Unbelievable. He has an RV and he also has a house in another state, Copa. He has a house in another state. He was not living there. I don't get it. But his thought is, let's make a GoFundMe. So you know what, Derek? Ugh, I can't. Listen. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for being here.